MRAI, Material Recycling Association of India, the voice of the Indian recycling industry.
The current linear developmental mode is technologically outmoded, it's ecologically unsustainable, it's economically inefficient, and socially discriminatory. Several countries have recognized the centrality of circularity for sustainable development and adopted the circular development model as a unique new way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, the process of urbanization in India has just begun. The process of urbanization across America has ended, across Europe has ended, it's nearing its completion in China. In India, it's just begun. And in India, we'll do more urbanization in the next 5 decades. That is, in the next 50 years, we will do more urbanization than what we have done in the last 5,000 years. But the challenge for India is to do this urbanization in a very, very innovative and very sustainable manner. And therefore, faced with the issue of overstressed resources, water, energy, material, massive waste volumes causing air, water, and soil pollution, caused from rising consumption and consequent unbridled disposal of end-of-life product, waste and scrap, we need to adopt circular economy as a very, very non-negotiable strategic imperative for a new India at 75, when we become 75 in 2022. And by 2022, Indian economy must be a totally economy which is totally a circular economy, and therefore our view is that India must have a national material recycling policy which we have drafted and circulated to all ministry, and we believe that we will have the approval for a new policy which will be a national material recycling policy, and we will from Niti Aayog drive a National Center for Circular Economy Studies, and I'm quite sure by 1922 we would have a National Circular Economy Act as the apex legislature and governance framework to implement the national material recycling policy. This is critical, this is important, because, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, our process of urbanization has just begun. It's important because when America urbanized, land, gas, and water were cheaply available. And therefore, America had the luxury of creating cities like Atlanta, where 99.8% of the people travel by car. Nobody cycles, nobody walks, nobody uses public transport. It was possible for them to create a recycling economy, but we need to learn from all the models of sustainability and innovation from across the world. And that is why today's conference on metal recycling is very critical. It plays a very critical role in economy and sustainable development, because scrap materials are not waste. They are all recyclable materials as a resource. And the material recycling is a major building block of a resource-efficient circular economy. Ladies and gentlemen, circular economy offers an alternative paradigm for sustainable economic growth by fundamentally reorienting social behavior towards achieving higher resource efficiency, reusing and recycling end-of-life products, scraps, waste, and materials to ultimately reduce generation of discards for landfills and create products of economic use. Within the circular economy, material recycling offers a paradigm shift from the conventional recycling techniques of incineration and landfilling by transforming end-of-life products, scraps and waste into useful raw materials to be fed back to the economy instead of being disposed in landfills. This is critical for India as we move forwards towards promoting the circular economy through organized recycling to achieve sustainable development. Recycling industry is closely integrated in different commodity sectors driven by basic supply and demand. Globally, 45% of the world's annual production of steel, over 40% of the world's copper production, and about 33% of the world's aluminum is produced from recycled material. 80% or more lead is recovered, and approximately 30% of global zinc production comes from secondary zinc. The economic significance of material recycling is therefore very clearly and very firmly established. I think it's very important for India to recycle steel, non-ferrous materials, e-waste, paper, construction and demolition waste recycling. All these are critical. Today in India, we are increasingly focusing on steel, on non-ferrous materials, aluminum, copper, lead, zinc, all these. But plastic is critical. Domestic consumption of about 15 million tons of plastic. The estimated recycling capacity is just about 2.35 million. And recycling continues to be in the informal, unregistered units. And therefore, we need to formalize the sector. We need to have extended producers' responsibility, and we need to bring out an EPR framework. We need collection targets for plastic waste and rules, and we need very high plastic recycling rates, which are environmentally sound. We have, in India, waste generation of about 2 million tons a year, and e-waste is growing very, very fast. We need to have a completely formal recycling capacity, which is only about 10%. It's all an informal sector, it's all hazardous. And therefore, industry has to catch up for collection targets. Capacity ramping up in recycling is quickly required. And this is possible because we have very dynamic leaders. We have people like Mr. Surendra from Belgium. We have many, many dynamic leaders. The biggest recyclers across the world are all Indians. They go and recycle across Belgium, across Amsterdam, across Europe, across all over USA, all over the world. And now they should turn their energy back at India. And it's incumbent upon them to really ensure that we become a recycling sustainable society. And Mr. Surendra, who has done so much of work in his village, should look at India as his whole village and transform India in recycling. I call him the king of recycling, and therefore he should relocate to India now from Belgium. He should use technologically advanced recycling facilities in India to produce quality recycled materials, and we will help him. The government will act as a facilitator, as a catalyst in a to ensure that we create a very move that we transit from a fragmented, unorganized recycling to advanced quality jobs towards a very formal sector. Unless the recycling ecosystem evolves to standards, we will not be able to manage waste as a resource. It will not be possible. And therefore, producers and manufacturers need to fully engage themselves in developing reverse logistics chain and organized recycling. This is critical. And we must learn and benefit from the vast experience of many of our leaders, the non-resident Indians who have done so well abroad. We would also like Mr. Brian and Ms. Robin of ISRI and Mr. Tom Bird of BIR to take the lead in this regard. And we in the National Institution of Transforming India will be very happy to work with them to find solutions to our developmental challenges, to build the right governance models, to work with municipal bodies in private sector collaboration. We have demonstrated our great ability to do this in cities of Surat, in cities of Indore, in cities of Bhopal. These were cities which were some time back some of the most polluting cities of the world. If you go and look at them now, they are some of the cleanest, the finest cities of India and probably of the world. And therefore, India, once it takes up a challenge, will deliver. And therefore, we would like to learn from the experience across the world to integrate the informal, unorganized sector and create infrastructure facilities for recycling clusters and develop the collection and segregation facilities and the reverse logistic chain. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to be here because India needs technology upgradation and R&D. We need to promote advanced technologies from across the world. And whether seen from resource conservation perspective or environmental footprint or economic well-being perspective, the recycling industry will be playing a very vital, a very critical role in the economy and society. It'll be the building block of a resource-efficient circular economy in India.